A knight suddenly finds himself charging into battle on a powerful steed. He stares down at his gauntlets, a strange sense of familiarity washing over him. Before him lies a burning city, a scene he recognizes with growing dread. This is the world of Echoes of Eternity, a game he knows all too well. A legendary medieval RPG, it was praised for its epic story of light versus darkness. Its immense depth and countless strategies kept players hooked for thousands of hours. He's living out the game's prologue, a desperate rush to save a town from monsters. Having mastered every detail from his past life, he could never mistake this iconic opening. His armored boot shatters the ground, confirming this is no longer just a game. Yet something about this all-too-real experience feels dangerously different. He questions the overwhelming realism, a stark departure from any game he's ever played. It's not just the visuals. The sounds of destruction and chaos feel terrifyingly authentic. A chilling thought strikes him. If this is the game, why is his perspective so specific? He realizes he's at the very front of the charge, leading the entire force into the fray. A subordinate knight rides up, desperately seeking his command and calling him captain. He instantly recognizes the striking features of the armored woman beside him. It's a legendary character from the game, brought to life in stunning detail. He identifies her as Natalia Norfolk, the renowned vice-captain from Echoes of Eternity. She snaps him out of his daze, reminding him that he and he alone is their leader. The shocking truth shatters his composure as he grapples with his newfound identity. He internally screams, questioning why he of all people was reborn as the character Silva. His mind races, desperately trying to piece together the events that led him to this world. A memory surfaces of him stocking up on energy drinks, preparing for another all-night gaming session. He then recalls walking home and witnessing a woman in the direct path of a speeding truck. The final moments of his past life flash before him, a heroic but fatal impulse to save a stranger. He clenches his jaw, frustrated that he wasn't reborn as the game's protagonist, but as this specific knight. He knows Silva Pierce is the kingdom's strongest warrior, a powerhouse with cheat-level stats from the very beginning. Yet there's a single catastrophic flaw in Silva's story that he remembers all too well. Natalia's urgent plea for orders shatters his thoughts, forcing him back to the grim reality of the battlefield. Pushing aside his own crisis, he takes command, ordering his troops to protect the town while he confronts the main threat. He steels his resolve, focusing on the immediate goal of clearing this prologue. His knights rally behind his command, their war cries echoing his title, the Silver Lance. He recalls the game's plot. While the protagonist saves the heroine, his job is to eliminate the boss. Riding into the fray, he fully accepts that this dangerous mission is now his responsibility. Two monstrous bird-like creatures, the prologue's mini-bosses, dive-bomb him with piercing shrieks. He clicks his tongue in annoyance, completely unfazed by the intimidating display. A moment of doubt creeps in as he charges, wondering if he can truly fight these beasts. Remembering his peaceful past life, he casts the thought aside, knowing he has no choice but to fight. With a powerful roar, he swings his massive lance, unleashing a devastating attack on the creature. He stares in utter disbelief, shocked by the overwhelming cheat-level power he now wields. He realizes that devastating blow wasn't a special skill, but merely a basic attack for this body. He recalls Silva's game-breaking advantage, starting at level 60 while everyone else is at level 10. With this power, he knows the swarming low-level monsters don't stand a chance against him. His attention turns to the true objective, a dark, crackling, dimensional rift tearing through the sky. He understands that destroying this eerie portal is the only way to complete the prologue. Peering into the abyss, he finally spots the monstrous entity hiding within the dimensional tear. He knows the rules. To close the rift, he must defeat the boss monster guarding it. A confident grin spreads across his face as he fully accepts his new role as the warrior Silva. A colossal beast emerges to face him, yet strangely he feels no fear despite its immense size. He understands this courage isn't his own, but the battle-hardened instinct of a body forged in endless war. Most importantly, as a player, he knows the full extent of Silva's overwhelming strength. A wild, battle-crazed grin spreads across his face as he prepares to unleash a signature move. The colossal beast lets out a final roar as his attack connects, shattering the very ground beneath it. He unleashes one of Silva's ultimate skills, the Divine Piercing Strike. A brilliant flash of light completely obliterates the boss monster, leaving nothing behind. He stands victorious amidst the rubble as the dimensional rift seals itself shut. A smirk of satisfaction plays on his lips. Clearing the prologue was almost too easy. With the rift now sealed, the game's prologue is officially complete. But as he walks away, he recalls the one massive, unavoidable problem that comes next. He remembers the grim truth. According to the game's story, Silva is fated to die at the end of Chapter 1. He remembers Silva's unavoidable death in the game, a scripted sacrifice at the end of Chapter 1. Despite fan petitions for a survival route, the developers never changed his tragic fate. But now that he's living Silva's life, he absolutely refuses to accept that ending. Natalia's concerned voice pulls him from his dark thoughts, checking if he's okay. Having already died once, he vows with cold determination that he will not die again. He turns to his vice captain, asking for a report on the situation in the town. Natalia confirms the monsters are cleared and the survivors are being evacuated to safety. She salutes him with awe, praising his incredible power in closing the rift all by himself. Among the survivors, he spots two familiar faces, the game's protagonist and the heroine. The scene shifts to their unit's headquarters back in the safety of the royal capital, Aurora. Back in his office, he slumps over his desk, overwhelmed by his impossible situation. He laments being reborn as this specific character, cursed with a tragic fate. He pulls up a status menu, a familiar game mechanic in this hyper-realistic world. The screen confirms his suspicions. Silva's stats are absurdly overpowered for the early game. But he knows this is the extent of Silva's power, a support character with no room for growth. Even as one of the world's strongest, he realizes facing the upcoming death event alone is suicide. A desperate thought crosses his mind. Perhaps he could just abandon his post and flee. But the game's cruel logic dictates that if he runs, the world's true heroes will die in his place. He's trapped in a no-win scenario, forced to choose between his death and the world's destruction. The pressure mounts as he realizes he only has 1 month left until his scripted demise. His spiral of despair is cut short by a voice from the doorway. It's Natalia, his ever-diligent vice captain, here to report on the aftermath of the battle. Her report on the rescued girl triggers his game knowledge, confirming the story is proceeding exactly as scripted. His mind flashes back to the game's plot, where the protagonist chases the escaped heroine, leaving Silva sidelined until the final event. With this downtime, he sees an opportunity to devise a strategy to cheat his own death. He snaps to his senses, horrified that he's instinctively playing his part without thinking. Masking his inner turmoil, he curtly dismisses her and concludes the report. The moment she turns to leave, the weight of his situation crashes back down on him, but despair quickly hardens into fierce determination. As the door closes behind her, he's left alone to confront his impossible future. As she turns to leave, his eyes follow her, and a sudden brilliant idea sparks in his mind. A realization dawns on him. If Silva alone isn't enough to survive, he doesn't have to be alone. He quickly calls out to her, and she turns back, surprised by his sudden change in demeanor. With a serious expression, he tells his vice captain that he has an important favor to ask of her. Natalia eagerly salutes, promising to carry out any important order without hesitation. A sly grin crosses his face as he gives her the most unexpected command imaginable. His vice captain is left utterly speechless, her brain struggling to process the absurd request. She asks him to repeat the order, hoping she misheard, but he confirms it with unnerving intensity. Despite her confusion, Natalia's loyalty wins out, and she agrees to comply if it's truly necessary. Seeing her willingness, he calmly promises to explain the reasoning behind his bizarre plan. He explains that he's always felt she was better suited for a different role, leaving her to wonder how that relates to his strange request. With a wild grin, he declares that her new crucial role in the unit is to be a dancer. He tells her that while she's been a great knight, her true calling is to shine on the battlefield as a dancer. The narrative explains that Dancer is a specialized support class within the world of Echoes of Eternity. He recalls how the Dancer class is a perfect fit for Natalia, bypassing her low MP by using her high HP to power its support skills. Natalia stares in disbelief, hoping it's a joke, but he confirms with dead seriousness that he means every word. He insists she has a unique talent for it, but she misinterprets his words, asking if this means she's being dismissed as a knight. Before he can clarify, she stoically accepts what she believes is her dismissal, vowing to obey her captain's will. Her composure shatters as she screams that she followed him out of admiration, and without her purpose as a knight, her life is meaningless. He suddenly remembers a critical detail he overlooked. Her notoriously low spirit stat makes her extremely emotionally fragile. He panics, desperately trying to stop her from spiraling further. He recalls that her low spirit stat makes her one of the most mentally unstable characters in the game. Overcome with despair, she screams that if she's useless, she'd rather face death. He grabs her, shouting that she has completely misunderstood his intentions. She tearfully questions why he'd ask her to throw away her sword if he didn't think she'd failed as a knight. To prove his sincerity, he swears a solemn oath on the silver lance that they need her strength. The weight of his oath stuns her into silence, her frantic outburst coming to a halt. Swearing on the silver lance is a binding ritual, more powerful than any contract for their unit. He pleads with her, explaining that this strange request is for the good of the entire unit. Though calmer, she expresses her doubt, admitting she has absolutely no training for such a role. He breathes a sigh of relief, seeing that his desperate plea has finally gotten through to her. With her spirit broken, Natalia reluctantly accepts her new role, and he immediately tells her to change. He then presents her with a dancer's outfit, leaving her utterly flustered by its revealing design. While he insists it's a perfect fit, she shyly voices her reservations about the scandalous attire. She confesses her insecurity about her femininity, but he bluntly praises her physique. A confident smile spreads across his face as he personally guarantees she'll look incredible. Still blushing, she asks for his personal opinion, separate from his duties as captain. His professional mask shatters as he eagerly admits his true unfiltered desire to see her in the outfit. A short time passes as she reluctantly goes to change into her new uniform. 10 minutes later, she returns, and he is left completely stunned by her transformation. Natalia nervously presents herself in the new outfit, asking if her appearance is acceptable. He grins triumphantly, declaring her transformation absolutely perfect for his plan. He recalls a hidden game mechanic, the embarrassment coefficient. For serious characters like Natalia, this stat provides a massive 1.5 times boost to her support abilities. Furthermore, her unique knight skills will now synergize perfectly with her new dancer class. With his first success, he immediately begins restructuring the entire unit based on his expert game knowledge. He claps his hands together, his optimization plan now fully in motion. With most of the unit reassigned, he notes that only 2 key members remain. He confidently enters the next room without waiting for an invitation. He finds the game's protagonist, who is completely flustered by his captain's sudden appearance. He identifies the young man as Kyle Transient, the game's actual protagonist. Beside him is the supporting heroine, Mia Hawkeye, another key figure from the story. His mind flashes back to his past life, recalling his mastery of the game, even winning its hardest events. With grim determination, he vows to fight against his scripted fate until the very end. Back in the present, he barges into the room, startling Kyle, who was tending to a patient. The protagonist, still flustered, tells him there's no need to stand on ceremony. Silva feigns surprise, asking about the condition of the survivor they rescued. Kyle explains that the girl they saved remains unconscious, despite having no visible injuries. The protagonist admits that for now, her condition remains a complete mystery. Silva calmly reassures them both, stating that the doctors confirm she's not in danger and will wake up eventually. He internally acknowledges that he, of course, knows the true identity of the unconscious girl. She is Raya Eternia, a descendant of the founding family and the reincarnation of an ancient sage. Kyle, the protagonist, is also a reincarnate, her fated protector, though neither of them remembers their past lives. He recalls that the entire point of the game's story is to help them restore their lost memories and powers. The stakes are impossibly high. If either of them dies, the sealed evil god will resurrect and destroy the world. This is precisely why he can't just flee. He must protect them while finding a way to avert his own death. He turns to the two of them, announcing that he has something important to discuss. Addressing Kyle directly, he declares he has something to give him, leaving the protagonist bewildered. Silva then presents the handle of his iconic weapon, offering it to the stunned young man. Kyle and Mia immediately protest, refusing to accept the silver lance, the very symbol of their unit. He recalls a coming event where the low-level protagonist will need the silver lance to survive a dangerous chase. The protagonist vehemently refuses the offer, waving his hands in protest. He expected resistance but is surprised by the sheer force of Kyle's refusal. He sympathizes with the protagonist's confusion, but knows time is running out. With a confident smirk, he dismisses the legendary weapon as if it were nothing special. He resorts to pulling rank, reminding Kyle that refusing a captain's order is a serious violation. The protagonist now holds the legendary weapon, and Silva declares it a perfect fit. Seeking backup, he turns to a flustered Mia for her agreement. The heroine nervously agrees, admitting the weapon looks good on the protagonist. Kyle is aghast at Mia's betrayal, much to Silva's triumphant satisfaction. With Kyle sorted, Silva turns his attention to a nervous Mia, announcing she's next. He offers her a small, ornate object, telling her to accept this important item. She stares in disbelief at the object, recognizing it as the official insignia of a captain. With a wild grin, he points at the stunned heroine and officially promotes her to captain. Mia is left utterly speechless, unable to comprehend the sudden shift in command. Her mind short-circuits, completely overwhelmed by the unexpected promotion. She panics, frantically insisting that she is in no way qualified for such a high-ranking position. Her protests continue as she completely rejects the impossible new title. His plan is revealed. By making Mia the captain, she'll gain bonus EXP, rapidly leveling her up to become a powerful support character. He casually encourages her to try on the insignia, ignoring her desperate pleas that she can't possibly be the captain. Mia desperately protests, explaining she's too new and has only just learned the other soldiers' names. He casually brushes off her concerns, telling her to just delegate all the difficult work to Natalia. He insists that since he could handle being captain, she'll be fine just giving orders. When she still hesitates, he plays his trump card, claiming the decision is not his but the will of the eternal tree. The mention of the sacred tree leaves both Kyle and Mia completely thunderstruck. A narrative reveals the eternal tree is the symbol of the nation and is worshipped as a god itself. Its will is therefore the highest possible order, a command that no soldier can dare to disobey. Silva doubles down on his lie, claiming a shrine maiden delivered this prophecy to him that very morning. Hearing that it's a divine decree, Kyle's resistance finally crumbles into reluctant acceptance. Internally, however, Silva smirks, admitting to himself that the entire prophecy is a complete fabrication. He internally gloats, knowing they'll never discover his deception about the divine will. A defeated Mia turns to Kyle, who reluctantly accepts the prophecy as their new reality. Kyle offers some unhelpful encouragement, leaving the new captain utterly crushed. Kyle asks about the former captain's plans, who deflects by praising the unit's strength. With a cunning grin, he announces his intention to go on a little trip. The scene shifts, showing him leaving the capital and heading into the wilderness. He recalls the chaos he left behind, confident that his gullible subordinates will manage. He gallops away from the capital, putting his grand plan into motion. But as he rides, a serious expression takes over, acknowledging the true challenge ahead. He questions if his newly restructured unit can become strong enough in just 4 weeks to defy his fate. He knows that his actions over the next month will determine the entire course of his life. With grim focus, he breaks his survival strategy down into 3 main objectives. His first goal is to get stronger, though he admits leveling himself up is more of a bonus given his already broken stats. The second, more critical objective is to level up his under-equipped subordinates, who have far more room for growth. His third and final goal is to recruit powerful new allies, the main purpose of his solo journey. He understands that to succeed, he must multitask efficiently, tackling multiple side stories at once. A sudden, desperate scream from the woods shatters his concentration, much to his annoyance. Without hesitation, he leaps through the dense foliage to investigate the disturbance. He hones in on the voice, a desperate plea for help echoing through the trees. Reaching the source of the sound, he grabs the person's arm, commanding them to stay put. He finds a young woman screaming in absolute terror, her face contorted in fear. She's surrounded by a pack of leering, monstrous goblins. He recalls the game's lore, but realizes this grim scenario is an unprecedented, horrifying event. The brutal reality of his new life hits him with chilling clarity. The woman desperately pleads for her life as the monsters close in on her. He admits that as a player, he would have ignored this side event to save time. But seeing her utter desperation, he knows he can't turn a blind eye. With his morals overriding his gamer instincts, he decides to intervene. He appears in a flash, his expression cold as steel as he prepares to strike down the first monster. A single effortless swing completely demolishes the goblin, ending its threat instantly. The remaining goblins are met with the same overwhelming, brutal force. He watches dispassionately as his blade cuts through the monstrous horde. With the immediate threat neutralized, he moves to shield the defenseless woman. The last goblin stares in wide-eyed terror at its impending doom. He turns to the terrified woman, checking to see if she's unharmed. With the woman safely behind him, he stands as a lone, imposing guardian. His gaze remains sharp, scanning the area for any lingering threats. The rescued woman stares up at him, her mind struggling to process the sudden rescue. He casually dismisses his heroic act, claiming to be a mere passerby who dealt with the problem. He internally curses the delay, frustrated that this side quest has thrown off his tight schedule. The woman cries with relief, clutching her merchant's license and thanking him for saving her. She insists on repaying him, claiming it's a matter of professional pride for a merchant. He waves off her offer, trying to leave quickly without any reward. As he turns his back, she desperately calls for him to wait. He coldly tells her to get to safety, warning her not to waste the life he just saved. Without another word, he walks away, leaving her behind in the clearing. She reaches out, her face a mask of desperation as he departs. He's already on his horse, galloping away without a second glance. He finally arrives at a massive city, relieved that he somehow made it on time. This is the Land of Fist, the kingdom's sacred ground for martial arts. He recalls this city holds exclusive opportunities, though it's not part of the main story. He strides into the arena, his mind set on a single specific purpose. His goal is simple: build his reputation and earn some serious cash. He knows that a higher reputation unlocks better store discounts and exclusive quests. He's here to grind the game's fame stat, a crucial but often overlooked mechanic. The best way to do this is through the Path to Grandmaster Arena quest, a side story perfect for boosting fame. This quest is a pure test of strength, a classic climb from the bottom to the top. He enters the ring and immediately demonstrates his overwhelming power against his first opponent. The crowd roars as the unknown silver-haired noble is declared the winner, a victory he found laughably easy. With his opponent defeated, the announcer proclaims Silva Pierce the victor of the match. A hooded official hands over the prize money for his victory in the arena. He inspects his item reward, a toe of the great runner, but finds it completely underwhelming. The bag of coins, however, is more than enough to fund the next stage of his plan. Shrugging off the random loot, he focuses on the more valuable assets he's gained. With his pockets full, he heads to his next destination, a lavish establishment. A bunny girl dealer welcomes him to the Fortune Casino, the city's main attraction. He knows this place transforms from a fighter's haven by day to a gambler's paradise by night. While most games are a quick way to lose cash, he's not here to play by the house rules. He recalls that in this hyper-realistic world, there's one game with a major exploit. His target is blackjack, a simple card game where his real-world knowledge gives him a massive edge. With a confident grin, he prepares to exploit the system and clean out the casino. By morning, he walks out with a massive bag of winnings, feigning it was all just a lucky streak. His secret weapon wasn't luck, but his real-world knowledge of card counting. The casino's inhabitants are completely unaware of this exploit, making it a limitless source of cash. Though he's met his initial fundraising goal, he knows he'll need even more for what comes next. His thoughts are interrupted by a commotion at the entrance of another establishment. He's surprised to see the very same merchant he saved in the forest, now pleading to be let inside. A doorman is refusing her entry, citing that her simple attire doesn't meet their dress code. Just as he's about to move on, she spots him and excitedly points him out as her rescuer. Her eyes sparkle with hope as she eagerly asks if he remembers her. He feigns surprise at their coincidental meeting, clearly annoyed by her presence. He coldly denies knowing her, hoping she'll believe he's mistaken her for someone else. She desperately grabs his cloak, pleading with him not to ignore her and walk away. She insists she couldn't possibly forget the man who saved her life, refusing to let him go. He internally curses her persistence, realizing she's far more stubborn than he anticipated. To get rid of her, he bluntly recalls the embarrassing details of her rescue, hoping to shame her into leaving. Unfazed, she cheerfully explains that she simply followed the safe path he cleared of monsters. He's stunned by her resourcefulness, questioning how she managed the dangerous journey alone. She theorizes that the scent from the earlier attack might have kept other monsters away. Losing patience, he curtly tells her he's in a hurry and that her thanks are sufficient. She waves her hands, overjoyed and endlessly grateful for his help. She then complains that the doormen are discriminating against her and won't let her into the casino. He glances at the sign, which clearly states a dress code requiring attire worth at least 10,000 gold. He coldly tells her that rules are rules and she should just give up. Her shoulders slump in defeat, admitting she came all this way hoping to get rich quick. His curiosity piqued, he asks why she's so desperate for money. She reveals her dream is to open her own store in the capital, which is why she left home. But her journey has been a disaster, from being attacked by goblins to being denied entry to the casino. He stares at her in disbelief, wondering if she's an idiot for thinking gambling is a sound business plan. Yet, he considers her strange honesty and obedience, realizing she might be useful for his own plans. A cunning glint appears in his eye as he decides to offer her the money, but with a catch. The young merchant is left completely bewildered by his sudden change of heart. She questions his motives, but he simply dismisses his offer as a passing whim. Overjoyed, she eagerly introduces herself as Roma Furus, officially placing herself in his care. As they walk through the city's stone corridors, he casually changes the subject. He asks how she intends to make money here, and she correctly identifies their location as the city's famous arena. With a wild grin, he bluntly states his plan is to beat up fighters in the arena for prize money. Roma has a flash of insight, guessing he wants her to act as his corner woman during the fights. She enthusiastically accepts, proudly boasting about her skill in forfeiting matches by throwing in the towel. He immediately shuts her down, telling her she has completely misunderstood her intended role. He hands her a massive bag of coins, and she struggles under its immense weight. He then gives her a simple, high-stakes instruction: bet all of it on him. He specifies the amount is a staggering 2 million gold, warning her not to drop a single coin. The merchant stares in disbelief, questioning how he could have possibly won so much at the casino. Her mind reels as she tries to comprehend the sheer scale of his winnings. She warns him that if he loses any of the next 3 matches, her bet will be for nothing. He confidently promises her that he has no intention of losing. He quickly scolds her for shouting the massive sum out loud, drawing unwanted attention. Having understood her role, she nervously asks about his next opponent in the arena. She completely panics upon learning he's scheduled to fight the reigning Grandmaster. Silva calmly considers his next opponent, the Grandmaster of the arena. Roma panics, recalling the legend of Tyron the Wicked, undefeated for 3 straight years. He grins, explaining that his opponent's fearsome reputation is exactly what will guarantee a massive payout. She desperately tries to stop him, warning that this isn't just a fight but a potential death sentence. The narrative confirms Tyron is a ruthless criminal who uses any means necessary to maintain his power. Silva confidently reassures her, hinting that his game knowledge gives him an edge she can't comprehend. Back in the ring, he effortlessly defeats another high-ranking opponent, stunning the announcer. As the announcer moves in for a post-match interview, Silva has other plans. He snatches the microphone from the startled announcer, ready to make a public statement. Addressing the crowd, he mocks his fallen opponents and issues a bold challenge to the entire arena. He announces to the crowd that he came all the way from the capital just to find a worthy opponent. With a condescending smirk, he feigns forgetting the Grandmaster's name, dismissing his undefeated streak as unimpressive. From the center of the ring, he taunts the champion, daring him to come out and fight. From a private box above, a noble woman berates the champion for silently enduring the insults. Silva's eyes lock onto the box, correctly identifying the monstrous-looking man as the champion he was looking for. The champion, Tyron, erupts in fury, smashing a table and startling his companions. A close-up reveals Tyron's face contorted in pure, unadulterated rage. Silva's confident grin widens, satisfied that his provocation has hit its mark. The scene shifts to a hallway where hurried footsteps echo through the stone corridor. Roma bursts in to find Silva standing over a group of defeated men, demanding to know what his plan is. She panics, questioning his reckless actions and warning him about the consequences. He calmly explains the defeated men were sent by Tyron and warns her to keep their association a secret. Following his orders, a nervous Roma places the massive 2 million gold bet on Silva at the counter. The arena is packed to the rafters, the crowd buzzing with anticipation for the main event. The final match is announced, the challenger Silva Pierce versus the reigning champion, Tyron the Despicable. Tyron condescendingly acknowledges Silva's strength for even reaching the final stage. Silva feigns confusion, completely unbothered by the champion's attempt at intimidation. The champion offers a deal: retract the insults and swear loyalty, or face a career-ending defeat. With a mocking grin, Silva flatly refuses, adding that associating with a troll would be bad for his image. Enraged by the insult, Tyron furiously demands that Silva bow and swear his allegiance. The champion offers a final, condescending chance, claiming he'll pretend he didn't hear the insult. Silva cuts him off, completely bored by the posturing and demanding the fight begin. He continues to mock the champion, questioning if his powerful hands are merely for decoration. The champion's fury boils over as he promises to end Silva's life right here in the ring. Suddenly, 2 intricate magic circles illuminate the arena floor, trapping Silva between them. Silva instantly realizes these are pre-placed traps, a clear sign of the champion's cheating. He also notices that Tyron is being secretly empowered by his own magicians outside the ring. The circles are revealed to be a binding field to slow him, and a vulnerability curse to lower his defense. Unimpressed by the overkill, Silva prepares to face the champion's chained fist. With a burst of speed, he charges forward, ready to shatter all of Tyron's careful preparations. Silva soars through the air, descending upon the champion with overwhelming force. The spectators, including Roma, can only watch in stunned silence at the sudden turn of events. A single devastating blow sends the massive champion flying across the arena. Tyron crashes into the ground with enough force to shatter the very stone beneath him. The champion's secret supporters look on, their confident smirks replaced with pure shock. Fueled by rage, Tyron pushes himself back to his feet, refusing to accept his defeat. He lunges forward in a desperate final assault, putting all his remaining strength into one last attack. The champion roars, trying to intimidate his opponent and recapture his fearsome reputation. But his bravado quickly fades, leaving him panting and exhausted from the effort. In stark contrast, Silva stands completely untouched, his cold gaze signaling the fight is already over. Silva casually asks the exhausted champion if his tantrum is already over. He's actually been using the fight to run calculations, analyzing the damage he received. Tyron screams in disbelief, unable to understand how his ultimate attack had no effect. With a smirk, Silva notes the attack left only a tiny scratch, confirming his damage calculations. He thanks the champion, admitting it was hard to find a decent test subject for his defenses. The champion is left speechless, completely baffled by Silva's bizarre explanation. Silva grins, declaring that Tyron was the perfect guinea pig for his experiment. Tyron roars in denial, refusing to accept that he's been so utterly humiliated. Unmoved, Silva looms over his opponent, ready to deliver the final blow. A single decisive punch sends the so-called champion flying out of the arena. The former champion crashes into the arena wall, the impact shattering the very stone around him. Silva glances back at his fallen opponent, his expression utterly indifferent to the one-sided victory. The announcer stares in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the champion's sudden and absolute defeat. Roma excitedly confirms that the Grandmaster is out cold, officially ending the match. With his fist raised in triumph, Silva is officially declared the new champion of the arena. Overjoyed by their massive winnings, Roma celebrates by tossing handfuls of cash into the air. Later, she frantically apologizes for the mess, flustered by the sheer amount of money they've won. He calmly accepts her apology, admitting it's a life-changing sum for the average person. She points to the mountain of cash, bewildered by his composure in the face of their 100 million gold windfall. She then demands to know why, despite their newfound fortune, he insists on living so frugally. He casually states that he's perfectly fine with simple food like jerky. He dismisses her idea of a fancy inn, claiming it's too far from the merchant's district and a waste of time. She can't understand why he isn't enjoying the perks of being a hero, like fine dining and female attention. She marvels at his incredible strength, declaring him the most powerful person she's ever seen. He cuts her off, explaining he's not here for a vacation and has a mountain of tasks to complete. His serious tone makes her realize there's more to his journey than just making money. He vaguely confirms her thoughts, admitting he has a much more important mission to accomplish. Her eyes sparkle with admiration, completely impressed by his sense of purpose. Her sudden change from complaining to admiration leaves him completely baffled. She grabs him, now fully convinced he's a noble hero on a grand quest, and pledges her admiration. She bows deeply, begging to accompany him on his grand journey. He questions her decision, reminding her that she already has enough money for her dream store. Her passionate declaration leaves him looking completely exasperated. She insists he's not overestimating her and pleads for the chance to serve him. He finally relents, and her face lights up with pure, unadulterated joy. Before she can celebrate too loudly, he quickly covers her mouth to silence her. He then asks about her hometown, and she mumbles the name of a tiny village through his hand. He internally recalls her village as an insignificant place he only ever visited to grind for materials. To test a theory, he shows her a piece of paper, but she can't even recognize the basic alphabet. Her illiteracy confirms a key detail for him, leaving him to contemplate his next move. He confirms his suspicion, realizing she is completely illiterate. His gaze intensifies as he processes this new, crucial piece of information. He dismisses his earlier theory that she might be another reincarnator like himself. Silva lays down his final condition, demanding her absolute and unwavering obedience. Her eyes burn with determination, showing she has fully committed to his cause. Overjoyed, she promises to be useful, accepting his warning that he won't be responsible for her. He lets out a weary sigh, resigned to his new, hyperactive companion. Now his official follower, Roma, eagerly asks about their next grand plan. A cunning smile forms as he realizes this simple background character might be the key to a new game-breaking strategy. She excitedly guesses they're off to fight monsters, but he quickly shuts down her heroic fantasies. He reveals their next task isn't fighting, but enjoying a bit of wonderful shopping. He instructs Roma to buy everything on his list, telling her not to worry about the cost. With their tasks assigned, he tells her they'll split up to cover more ground. He watches her run off, his mind already focused on his own part of the plan. He recalls the game's brutal equipment system, where getting the perfect item with 6 effects is nearly impossible. His immediate goal is to acquire specific gear for the next phase, so he enters a blacksmith shop. He knows that equipment in this world can be enchanted with random effects, a system he plans to exploit. His eyes land on a specific weapon, the exact item he came here to find. It's an unremarkable one-handed sword with only a single enchantment slot, yet it's surprisingly pricey. The shopkeeper eyes him suspiciously before quoting a steep price of 200,000 gold. He knows that with enough cash, he can guarantee the perfect enchantment, saving him precious time. He casually tosses the full 200,000 gold onto the counter, securing the deal instantly. With his purchase complete, he heads back out into the city to continue his mission. He inspects his new gear, satisfied with the first part of his equipment upgrade. His expression turns serious, contemplating the immense task still ahead of him. He pauses in the street, his mind racing as he finalizes the next step of his plan. With his equipment finally in order, he moves on to the next phase of his plan. He feels a wave of exhaustion, realizing he hasn't rested since arriving in this world. He knocks firmly on a secluded door, ready for his next clandestine meeting. A suspicious face peers through a small window, demanding to know his business. Silva sarcastically asks the man if he's the informant, or just secretly selling sweets. The hidden man cuts to the chase, asking what kind of information he's looking for. Silva's request for intel on the syndicate visibly startles the informant. The man immediately denies having any knowledge, trying to shut down the conversation. Silva's expression hardens, clearly not accepting the man's refusal. He recalls that in the game, earning this informant's trust was a long, tedious process. But with no time for grinding, he finds a specific spot on the wall to bypass the door. He activates a skill called Lightning Blink, preparing to force his way in. The informant is stunned as Silva appears inside, casually chiding him for his poor attitude. Having just phased through solid stone, Silva looms over the terrified man, ready to make his demands. He calls the informant a liar, demanding the information and promising to pay the proper fee. The terrified informant continues to deny knowing anything, desperately begging Silva to leave. The man suddenly recognizes him as the new arena champion, questioning how he could possess such knowledge. The informant finally relents, spilling the secret Silva was looking for. With the information secured, Silva tosses him a bag of money, advising him to use it to disappear. As Silva departs, the informant offers a final, grim warning about the dangers of the syndicate. He internally confirms his plan worked, knowing that his high fame stat was the key to unlocking this information. Suddenly, a dark, rose-shaped projectile narrowly misses him, embedding itself in the wall above. A mysterious figure appears, declaring a death sentence for anyone who investigates the Faceless Ones. The assassin is revealed to be a deadly-looking woman in a dark cloak, her eyes fixed on her target. The assassin lunges with blinding speed, forcing Silva to dodge the sudden aggressive attack. He furiously berates his attacker for the reckless and nearly fatal assault. He instantly recognizes this as the start of the Faceless Conspiracy, a main quest from the game's DLC. He recalls that these DLC enemies are notoriously difficult, boasting high stats and wielding twin short swords. Her unique weapon is identified as Dark Moon, a pair of blades with individual abilities, Waxing and Waning Moon. The right-hand blade, the Waxing Moon, applies a unique bleeding effect that can be stacked repeatedly. Meanwhile, the left-hand blade, the Waning Moon, deals escalating damage based on the number of bleed stacks. He realizes that even a single hit would be fatal, as the damage would snowball uncontrollably. He mentally curses the game's designers for creating such a deviously difficult combat scenario. He's intensely frustrated, realizing this difficult opponent has cornered him in a cramped alley with no room to maneuver. He narrowly dodges the assassin's relentless assault, the force of their clash shattering the alleyway stones. Realizing his frustration is a liability, he forces himself to calm down and think strategically. He leaps back, internally cursing that his attempts to de-escalate are being completely ignored. He knows he could easily win, but his true goal is to capture this assassin alive for his future plans. The task is complicated by their ability to teleport away at the slightest hint of danger. With his entire strategy on the line, he decides he has no choice but to risk a more aggressive approach. He turns his back on the assassin, seemingly leaving himself open as he addresses the terrified informant. The assassin's eyes widen, shocked by his apparent carelessness in the middle of a fight. Seizing the opportunity, the assassin lunges forward in a blur, aiming for a decisive strike. With a wild grin, he taunts his attacker, offering a single clear shot at his neck as a reward for their persistence. Instead of a clean strike, the assassin's blade shatters against an unseen, unbreakable defense. He endures the painful blow, successfully catching the assassin's arm mid-strike. The cloaked figure is left stunned, unable to comprehend how her attack was so easily stopped. With a pained but triumphant grin, he declares that his risky gambit has finally paid off. In a flash, he uses his real-world knowledge of judo to flip the assassin over his shoulder. Despite coughing from the injury, he successfully pins his opponent to the ground. He casually mocks her mask before reaching down to remove it and reveal her identity. Beneath the mask is not a monster, but a terrified young woman with tears in her eyes. He tries to reassure his captive, promising to fix the situation he's put her in. A trickle of blood from his mouth reminds him of the serious injury he sustained to capture her. The assassin's eye widens, her mind unable to process what just happened. She collapses to the ground, her thoughts a jumbled mess of regret and fragmented memories. Tears stream down her face as she's lost in a haze of conflicting visions, from violence to peaceful fields. As Silva holds her, she stares blankly, trapped somewhere between the present and her traumatic past. Her mind is consumed by a single, terrifying memory she identifies only as the Abyss. He calls her by a new name, Mitsuki, trying to pull her back to reality. But in a flash, she's gone, leaving him completely bewildered in the empty alleyway. The scene shifts to Mitsuki waking up in a daze, calling out for her brother in confusion. Silva appears beside her, revealing he is her brother and chiding her for the trouble she's caused. Still struggling to understand, she asks her brother how he could possibly be there with her. He reinforces his control, reminding her that she has always done everything he's told her to do. Her programming glitches as she struggles to remember if he was the one who gave her the order to come here. The narrative reveals Mitsuki is a human weapon, a top assassin for the infamous Faceless Syndicate. Her enhanced abilities make her a brutally efficient killer, ensuring every target is eliminated. However, her mind is incredibly fragile due to extensive conditioning and substance use by the Syndicate. Silva recalls the exploit. She's been brainwashed to obey anyone who uses a specific phrase, believing them to be her brother. Despite his moral qualms, he's pleased to have recruited a powerful level 40 assassin to his side. He offers her a piece of candy, internally celebrating his acquisition of another overpowered ally. Now completely loyal, she eagerly asks for her next mission, even offering to eliminate a target for him. She happily enjoys her treat, completely unaware she's now a pawn in his grand scheme. He informs his new assassin that her killing days are over, much to her surprise. The pain from his injury finally hits him, and he decides it's time to retreat to the inn. The narrative explains that the assassin's bleeding curse is too potent for even his high stats to handle alone. He tries to play off his injury, but his pained expression betrays the seriousness of the wound. He applies a healing potion, wincing as the potent liquid stings his neck. Back at the inn, he curses his reckless plan, vowing never to take such a risky gamble again. Completely drained from the fight and the injury, he collapses onto the bed in exhaustion. Lying back, he reflects on his progress over the last 3 days and wonders if he's finally earned a moment of rest. He offers his new subordinate a chance to rest as well, a concept she seems completely unfamiliar with. Just as they settle down, Roma bursts in, loudly announcing her triumphant return from her shopping mission. Roma freezes at the door, demanding to know the identity of the strange girl with Silva. The assassin, Mitsuki, asks her brother who the noisy intruder is, leaving Roma stunned by the term of endearment. Roma jumps to the wrong conclusion and tries to back out, apologizing for interrupting what she thinks is a private moment. Silva, looking utterly exhausted, clarifies that the young woman is his little sister, Mitsuki. Flustered, Roma apologizes again, explaining she thought she'd met his sister by chance and tries to make another hasty exit. His eye twitches in annoyance as he registers Roma's new self-appointed title of henchman. Roma bows deeply to Mitsuki, formally introducing herself as Silva's loyal follower. Cutting the awkward introductions short, he immediately asks Roma to show him the results of her shopping trip. She proudly reveals a bag filled with strange, multifaceted, gem-like orbs. He picks one up, his expression turning serious as he inspects the mysterious item. She proudly reports that she followed his orders precisely, buying out every single materials store in the city. Roma puffs out her chest, seeking praise for her efforts, which he casually acknowledges as a decent start. His smirk returns as he crushes her pride, revealing they need at least 10 times the amount she gathered. Overwhelmed but obedient, she agrees to continue her shopping quest tomorrow, even if it means traveling to the next town. As Roma stumbles away, Mitsuki questions her presence, but Silva defends his new follower's surprising tenacity. He then turns to his new assassin, telling her to rest up because she also has a role to play in his plan. Mitsuki quietly contemplates her new situation, a stark contrast to her previous life of violence. The scene shifts to a clandestine meeting where a voice from the shadows chastises Number 7 for being late. A hooded syndicate leader looms over Mitsuki, demanding to know why she failed her mission and brought back a captive. The leader's rage is palpable as he reminds her that her only order was to eliminate the target, not capture him. Mitsuki reports to her superior, explaining her target was unexpectedly powerful and even broke her mask. She justifies her decision, claiming she had standing orders to capture any target demonstrating unusually high combat ability. Her superior asks how she subdued him, and she confirms she used sedatives before tying him up securely. The masked leader looks down on the captive, dismissing him as no threat even if he were to wake up. Yet a glint in the leader's eye suggests he's not entirely convinced by her story. He points out how unusual this is, questioning if she's ever spared a target before, but she claims not to remember. Turning to an underling, the leader confirms the mission site was left clean, reinforcing his own certainty about her strange behavior. His suspicions confirmed, he directly confronts Number 7, demanding to know if she's experienced any changes in her mental state. All the while, Silva feigns unconsciousness, worried that in the worst-case scenario, Mitsuki might teleport away from him. He understands the dire situation. If the syndicate manages to overwrite his conditioning, he'll lose his new ally and be forced to fight. She reaffirms her absolute loyalty to her brother, offering to eliminate anyone he commands. Her devotion is so complete that she's willing to turn on her own syndicate members if ordered. The leader, seemingly satisfied, orders her to take the captive to the cells and says he will check on her later. As Mitsuki departs, Silva is left alone with the syndicate leader and his underling. Just as the underling moves to grab him, the leader suddenly attacks his own man without warning. The leader looms over his now injured subordinate, his expression one of pure fury. The scene changes, showing Silva now dressed in a syndicate uniform, which he finds surprisingly comfortable. Mitsuki expresses concern, but he brushes it off, claiming he only got his clothes dirty. He asks her to lead him to a specific location she knows, and she eagerly points the way. He rewards her concern with a piece of candy, reinforcing his control over his new loyal assassin. Now disguised in a syndicate uniform, Silva leads his new assassin through the enemy's hideout. Their progress is halted by a guard who suspiciously questions their presence in the restricted area. Before the guard can finish his sentence, Silva instantly neutralizes him with a single, decisive blow. The commotion alerts the syndicate leader and his subordinate, who rush to investigate the disturbance. Silva continues his silent assault, effortlessly dispatching any guards who stand in their way. He asks Mitsuki for directions, and she confidently points him toward their target's cell at the end of the hall. They find a lone, shackled prisoner slumped in the corner of a dark, foreboding cell. The prisoner looks up, her voice weak but defiant as she asks if he's a new warden. Despite her situation, she cheekily requests a meal of soup and soft bread to mark the occasion. Tossing a guard's mask aside, Silva clarifies he's not one of her captors and points to the unconscious guard. The prisoner's confusion deepens as she realizes Silva might not be one of her captors. Suddenly, Mitsuki pops out from behind him, cheerfully greeting the prisoner by a familiar name. The prisoner's eyes widen in utter disbelief at the sight of her old acquaintance. She warns Mitsuki of the danger, but the assassin simply explains her brother wanted to see her. The prisoner is left stunned, unable to process Mitsuki's use of the word brother. Her confusion quickly turns to pure, unadulterated rage. Straining against her chains, she lunges at Silva, accusing him of doing something terrible to Mitsuki. He calmly addresses the mad dog princess, but she demands to know why Mitsuki thinks he's her brother. Silva openly admits to exploiting the syndicate's brainwashing, confirming the prisoner's worst fears. Consumed by fury, she vows to end him before he can force Mitsuki to take another life. He tries to de-escalate, assuring the prisoner he has no intention of making Mitsuki kill again. His words fall on deaf ears as she accuses him of lying, convinced he's just trying to manipulate her. Their gazes lock in a tense standoff, one filled with suspicion and the other with unwavering confidence. He cheekily asks if his honest eyes look capable of deceit, but she remains completely unconvinced. The narrative reveals the prisoner is Akatsuki, Mitsuki's twin sister and a failed human weapon, imprisoned for her volatile nature. A flicker of doubt crosses her face as she begins to question if he might actually be telling the truth. To test his claim, she turns to Mitsuki and asks if her new brother has given her any violent orders. Silva internally recalls her unique lie-breaker ability, which makes her immune to brainwashing and a perfect, if volatile, ally. Mitsuki confirms that while her previous master ordered her to kill, Silva has given her no such commands. He gently reassures Mitsuki, patting her head and telling her not to dwell on her confusing past. Mitsuki clutches her head, struggling with the conflicting commands of her brainwashing. Akatsuki's suspicion fades, realizing he truly isn't aligned with the syndicate. A smirk crosses her face as she mockingly calls him a reckless fool for breaking in alone. He retorts that this fool has come to rescue the other fool who got herself imprisoned for rebelling. Cutting through the banter, she sternly asks him what he wants from her. He simply states his proposition. He wants her to help him with his plans. Now freed from her cell, Akatsuki stands beside him and her sister, awaiting his answer. With a confident grin, Silva reveals his unbelievably audacious goal, taking over the entire syndicate. Just then, a group of syndicate guards corners them, vowing the intruders won't leave alive. Akatsuki scoffs at his grand plan, convinced he's just spouting nonsense before they all get killed. Unfazed by her doubt, Silva calmly tells her to watch as he deals with the approaching guards. He unleashes a devastating skill, obliterating the entire squad in a single, overwhelming blast. While Mitsuki cheers for her brother, Akatsuki can only stare in stunned disbelief at his immense power. Still processing the aftermath, she demands to know his true motivation for all this chaos. He grins, explaining that he needs the syndicate's power for his own reasons and requires her help to get it. He formally extends his hand, asking her to join him in his audacious plan to seize control. Akatsuki agrees to help, but only if he agrees to one very important condition. She makes him promise to never again force her sister Mitsuki to take another life. She warns him that breaking this promise means his own life is forfeit, but he assures her his goals are peaceful. With their pact sealed, Akatsuki shatters her own restraints, ready to join his cause. Akatsuki officially agrees to join his cause, just as more syndicate guards arrive to surround them. Without missing a beat, she immediately demands a weapon from Silva, ready to jump into the fray. Now armed with a sword, she leaps into a fighting stance, eager to unleash her pent-up fury. With a wild grin, she playfully calls him brother, solidifying their new chaotic alliance. Silva smirks, satisfied that with the twin assassins by his side, all the pieces of his plan are finally in place. The narrative shifts to the syndicate's mastermind, revealing the upcoming fight is the final, crucial battle of the DLC. With a look of pure confidence, Silva declares it's time to begin the battle against the DLC's final boss. He then makes a bizarre and unexpected proposition to his new ally, suggesting a radical career change. A flustered Akatsuki slumps against a wall, regretting that she somehow agreed to his strange terms. She complains that even for him, she can't possibly wear an outfit that's so incredibly revealing. A close-up reveals the scandalous outfit Silva has chosen for her, leaving little to the imagination. Akatsuki points accusingly, completely speechless at his audacious request. She vehemently refuses, shaking her head in embarrassment at the very thought of wearing it. A painful memory surfaces of a past comrade trying to intervene on her behalf with their captain. The memory intensifies, showing a desperate plea for help sworn on the honor of the Silver Spear. Akatsuki falls silent, her resolve wavering as she's caught between her pride and her past. She realizes that breaking the promise she just made to Silva would be an even greater humiliation. To uphold her end of the deal, she makes the difficult decision to abandon her former title of knight. Now dressed in the revealing attire, she stands ready as a large mechanical suit powers up behind her. With a look of grim acceptance, she adjusts her hair, preparing for whatever comes next in this bizarre plan. She looks at her reflection, glumly wondering if she's better suited to be a dancer than a knight. She nervously presents herself to Silva, apologizing for the delay in changing. He confirms that her new look is perfect for the next stage of his audacious plan. The scene shifts to a different room where someone is enjoying a much-needed, relaxing bath. It's revealed to be Silva, who remarks that it's been a long time since he's had a proper rest. Suddenly, Akatsuki emerges from the bath, prompting Silva to question her lack of attire. She scoffs at his concern, declaring that she is far beyond feeling any sense of shame. She explains that after her time with the syndicate, she's completely desensitized to being seen. She casually calls out to Mitsuki, asking her sister to grab some clothes for her. Mitsuki immediately scolds her sister, insisting that she can't just walk around like that. Mitsuki continues to scold her sister for her lack of modesty, leaving Silva caught in the middle of their argument. Their bickering is interrupted by Roma, who bursts back into the room with a boisterous announcement. She freezes in her tracks, utterly confused to see two identical girls, wondering if his sister has multiplied. Looking completely drained, Silva calmly explains that they are simply twins, ending her bizarre theory. Akatsuki asks if this is the errand girl he mentioned, prompting Roma to introduce herself with gusto. Akatsuki shakes her hand, passing on Silva's praise and leaving the flustered Roma beaming with pride. With a single intense look, Akatsuki instantly establishes her dominance over the new henchman. Getting straight to business, Silva asks Roma if she successfully acquired the items on his list. She enthusiastically confirms her success, dropping a heavy bag of materials onto the floor. Roma proudly reports that she traveled to every nearby city to buy out their stock, earning a nod of approval from Silva. Roma is flustered by his rare praise, questioning the reason for his sudden smirk. Recovering her composure, she asks what the strange stones she gathered are actually used for. Mitsuki holds one up, explaining they are called flash stones, much to Roma's confusion. To demonstrate, Silva crushes one in his hand, unleashing a blinding burst of light. He casually apologizes as the intense flash momentarily stuns everyone in the room. Rubbing her eyes, Roma pleads with him not to surprise her like that, and again asks about his plan. He cryptically tells her to remain on standby for her next order, leaving her to accept his vague command. He then pats her on the head, thanking her for her hard work and acknowledging her efforts. With all preparations complete, he declares that it's finally time for them to begin. Mitsuki's determined expression signals the beginning of the final phase of their current plan. Akatsuki's determined gaze signals the start of their final battle against the syndicate's mastermind. With his team assembled, Silva rallies them to finally put an end to the DLC questline. The twins stare in disbelief at the seemingly unremarkable location he's brought them to. They cross a stone bridge into a dilapidated village, with Akatsuki questioning if the mastermind could truly be hiding here. He dismisses her concerns, calling her a worrywart, while she insists he should at least acknowledge her caution. Despite her pointing out the village is unmapped, he confidently assures her they are in the right place. The narrative explains that the mastermind has multiple bases, but his location can be deduced with the right information. The first clue is the location of the syndicate's main headquarters, which they've already infiltrated. The second clue comes from the specific equipment Mitsuki was wearing when he first encountered her. He reveals that while most of her gear is standard, her necklace randomly changes, providing the final clue to the mastermind's current location. Akatsuki questions his choice of armor, finding it strange for their stealthy approach. He is certain of their location, having deduced it from the syndicate's base and Mitsuki's simple necklace. He casually dismisses her concern, proudly showing off his new gear as Mitsuki cheers for her brother. Silva rewards Mitsuki's unwavering loyalty with candy, playfully chiding Akatsuki for her doubt. Akatsuki remains on edge, baffled by his carefree attitude before facing their most dangerous enemy yet. Her disbelief intensifies when he points to an unassuming stone well as their final destination. He confidently confirms that the entrance to the mastermind's secret lair is hidden at the bottom of the well. After descending, they find themselves in a vast, strange cavern, unlike any place they've seen before. A mysterious voice echoes from the darkness, welcoming the first visitors to its mausoleum in a very long time. As Akatsuki prepares for battle, Silva smirks, recognizing that the final boss has finally revealed himself. The narrative identifies the mysterious voice as the syndicate leader and the final boss of the DLC. The Mastermind addresses his former experiments, Akatsuki and Mitsuki, acknowledging their betrayal. His attention then turns to the third, unexpected intruder accompanying the twin assassins. The boss correctly identifies him as Silva Pierce, a captain from the Holy Eternia Kingdom. The imposing syndicate mastermind finally reveals his full robed form to the intruders. He compliments Silva on his tracking skills, mockingly calling him a servant of the Silver Wolf. Silva internally celebrates, realizing he's triggered a super rare line of dialogue by breaking the game's intended story. The final boss is left completely baffled by Silva's unexpectedly cheerful reaction. The Mastermind assumes Silva must have endured great suffering and sacrifice to make it this far. Silva nonchalantly corrects him, revealing it has only been 5 days since his journey began. Silva's casual correction that it only took 5 days leaves the Mastermind utterly speechless. The boss's assumption of a long, arduous journey is completely shattered by this revelation. His twin companions can only stare in confusion, unable to follow the bizarre conversation. Trying to regain control, the Mastermind ignores the comment and offers begrudging praise for Silva's efforts. He then launches into a dramatic monologue about the great sacrifices he's made for his own ambitions. With a triumphant roar, the boss declares that his ultimate goal has finally been achieved. He commands the intruders to witness the culmination of his life's work. The Mastermind reveals his power source, a fragment of a destructive god, an artifact of immense power. Silva smirks, internally mocking the villain for revealing endgame plot points during the first chapter. Unaware of the meta-commentary, the boss prepares to unleash his power, demanding they burn the sight into their eyes. The Mastermind unleashes a devastating attack, causing the entire cavern to erupt around them. Instead of harming the heroes, the power consumes the boss, causing him immense pain. His body shatters and contorts as he undergoes a grotesque and agonizing transformation. He emerges as a monstrous skeletal creature, the true final form of the DLC's ultimate boss. Silva recalls that this boss has insanely high stats and a variety of complicated attack patterns. The narrative explains the fight is notoriously difficult, with 3 phases and numerous instant kill mechanics. But Silva smirks, revealing that he has no intention of fighting this notoriously difficult boss the normal way. Akatsuki, overwhelmed by the creature's power, nervously asks if they even stand a chance of winning. He confidently reassures her, asking if he looks like someone who doesn't have the situation under control. His unwavering confidence is infectious, and Akatsuki's fear turns into a determined grin. The monstrous boss roars, declaring the birth of its new dark world. It proclaims that Silva's death will be the catalyst to usher in an age of darkness. But Silva confidently informs the boss that it won't even get a turn to fight. He crushes one of the flash stones, telling the monster to watch his real plan unfold. A blinding explosion of light erupts from the ground, completely stunning the final boss. The creature recoils in agony, confused and overwhelmed by the intense, unexpected flash. Silva braces himself as the enraged boss retaliates with a wave of sharp projectiles. The monster seethes with fury, unable to comprehend how it's being so easily damaged. It cries out in pain, trapped and disoriented by the relentless, blinding assault. The continuous flashes interrupt its incantation, preventing it from unleashing its ultimate attack. He reveals the Flash Stone's holy attribute is the key, stunning monsters on impact. He recalls a critical exploit. The boss becomes vulnerable to this low-level stun after absorbing the dark artifact. The narrative explains the timing is incredibly tight, as each stone takes a fraction of a second to activate. With the stun only lasting for 0.75 seconds, the boss is left in a state of perpetual shock. But this is why he meticulously crafted his gear, stacking attack speed bonuses for a massive 200% boost. This insane speed allows him to land a hit and activate another flash stone just before the stun wears off. He smirks, confirming the boss's disbelief that such a ridiculous strategy could even exist. He then reveals the true scale of his plan, having prepared over 400 flash stones for this very moment. The sheer number of stones shatters the boss's composure, leaving it to howl in disbelief. He internally credits Roma's thoroughness, as she gathered far more stones than he actually needed for the plan. The infuriated boss can only growl in frustration, unable to break free from the stun lock. In a last-ditch effort, it summons skeletal minions to attack Silva from the ground. The narrative explains these aren't just minions, but phantoms of past masterminds, a notoriously difficult mechanic. But Silva shouts with confidence, revealing he's already anticipated this very move. He reveals the twins were his secret weapon, prepared specifically to deal with these summoned phantoms.